Welcome to episode 52 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Daphne.
And my name is Xander. Thank you everybody so much for joining us on another episode of Kiss Army Things, where my wife and I talk all things Kiss. Of course, we are drinking that Gene Simmons Money Bag soda, which is refreshing because I am thirsty. We had a heck of a time setting this up. It's always fun setting up, but it's nice to have a little drink afterwards, and we're so glad that everybody out there is joining us because today is going to be a double celebration.
Yes.
We're celebrating 2 album anniversaries today. Both Kiss Alive 3 and Revenge are celebrating anniversaries. It's the 31st for Revenge and the 30th for Kiss Alive 3, and so we thought, well, hey, since they're both back-to-back, May 18th and May 19th, why don't we just do a 2-for-1 in one episode, celebrate both. Of course, this is a very much a beloved era for us around here at the Kiss Army Things podcast, the Revenge era, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. It's, one of our favorites, obviously.
One of the best. So, good point. We're actually dressed for the occasion, so Daphne is wearing my Revenge t-shirt, the only vintage t-shirt I actually wear. I have a few of them, but I don't wear them because, I don't know, I want to keep them put up. But this one actually fits me. It looks cool. It's too cool not to wear. And the one you're seeing over here, Kiss Alive 3, this one it looks brand new, but it's actually from 92, 93. I just never wore it. The tag is actually still on it.
Yep.
But I thought, well, since we're doing a celebration episode, might as well wear them and have ourselves a good time. So today, like I said, it's going to be all about Revenge and Alive 3. Do we even do a spotlight? Because it's obvious that, these two are going to be on our list.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be obvious, but we could each claim one at least if you want.
Well, I was going to say, so I listened
just based on our shirts.
I listened to Kiss Alive 3 this week.
And I listened to more Revenge. So.
More Revenge. Okay, so I didn't quite get to Revenge. I listened to Revenge like a month or two ago, so it was already kind of fresh. But Alive 3 was my go-to.
Yeah.
So Revenge was yours.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I've been listening to it for the past few days. So.
For sure. Then we'll just claim both of those then.
Yep, those are our spotlights.
Sounds good for me. So let's start with you listening to Revenge. Obviously, you've heard it before, so it's not like, oh yeah, this is a good song.
Yeah.
But what do you like about Revenge? Why is Revenge a go-to album for you? Why is it that we like this album and this version of the band so much?
It's, first of all, this is just like my ideal Kiss lineup. It's so good. It is one of my favorite lineups ever. The addition of Eric and Bruce to the band, and just these 4 specifically together, there's something so special about them, and I just feel like it is the tightest musically that they've ever been up to this point. Paul's voice is insane. And obviously this album is one of the heavier, if not the heaviest album in their discography, which, we tend to gravitate towards a lot of times. But it's also really dynamic. It's not just heavy. There's kind of a lot of up and down. We've got some, some power ballads as well.
Of course.
And I'm a huge fan. Some songs that stuck out to me this listen. I mean, I've loved all these songs for years now, but Spit is really my favorite these last few days.
Okay.
Because I just absolutely love a back and forth Gene and Paul song. Like, I just cannot get over it.
Tough to beat dual lead vocals between Gene and Paul.
It's so good. And the way the way they switch, their parts are so perfect for their voices. It's just so satisfying when it switches from Gene to Paul. I love it so much.
I've always appreciated that, but I never realized is that God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too is also the same way.
You're right. It does do that.
Where one sings one part, the other finishes, and then it's kind of like one voice, but 2 people. Yeah. It's really cool.
But in Spit, they almost like finish each other's sentences a little bit. Like we come out of Gene's part, and he says or I don't know if it's him that says it, but in the transition between the 2 parts, they say, I need, and then it switches to Paul.
I think one says one, and then later on they switch it. They switch it, yeah.
It's so good. I love it so much.
Now, in God Gave Rock and Roll to You, isn't it the same way, too, where it's like, you don't know for sure, you can't find a cure.
Yeah, you're right.
You get in less than what you... And they both sing it, so it's like, it's the trading back and forth.
Same sentence. I love that.
That works really well. There's some really good songs that Gene and Paul sing. I'm thinking Take Me Down Below from Monster and Stand from Sonic Boom.
Yes.
Are 2 other good ones.
Yeah, Stand's a great one.
Gene and Paul trade back.
Yeah.
Good observation.
But I love Spit. It's so much fun. It's one of the most fun songs on the album. And then another one that is a favorite of this week at least is I Just Wanna.
Okay.
I can never get over the starting with the acapella bit at the beginning is so good.
Paul's vocals, yeah, he opens up really well. That's a good one.
I just love it so much, and his vocals are so good on that song, and it's just...
He kind of opens it the same way as Lick It Up acapella, except this is a much heavier, much more driven.
Yeah.
So we mentioned, this is one of the heaviest albums. I'm trying to think, which is heavier, this or Creatures? I'm thinking Creatures.
You think?
Because of the drum sound.
Interesting.
I don't know, because I mean, even like on I Still Love You, which is again a power ballad song.
Yeah.
You know, there's still this huge drumming that Eric Carr's bringing. So
that's true.
I think Creatures may be the heaviest album. I don't know.
Interesting. I have always seen it as Revenge, but maybe I need to kind of listen to them back to back and reform my opinion. Well, and there's also something about like the image of the era that tricks your brain into thinking it's heavier because they're so grungy and like the leather and studs and everything like that just maybe trick my brain into thinking it's heavier than it is. But I don't know, starting off with Unholy, Take It Off.
Yeah, well, Unholy is a perfect track.
Unholy is so good.
Unholy is a perfect track. I think we may let the Army decide. Yeah. Kiss Army, let us know what you think is the heaviest Kiss album. Is it Creatures? Is it Revenge? Is it Carnival?
Or is it, something else?
Is it, what to you is the heaviest, and how do you define the heaviest Kiss album?
Yeah.
Because even though this album does have some heavy material, Bob Ezrin still did a really good job at balancing it and making it still feel like a hard rock album.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know that you can call this a heavy metal album.
No, I still would not classify it as metal.
Because when you compare it to other metal bands, it doesn't quite reach that threshold.
Agreed.
But it still could be classified as like heavy metal Kiss, because Kiss is kind of in that vein, where Kiss has always been a rock and roll band no matter what, and then they've always just like tacked on little things to that, heavier rock, some poppier rock and some softer rock, and all that. So, but no matter what, it's always just bass rock. But yeah, I like to hear what everybody else thinks about what the heaviest Kiss album is. Any other tracks that stood out to you from Revenge on this listen?
I mean, let's see, what else was I gonna say?
I think songs like Thou Shalt Not don't really get talked about that much. Maybe it's because it's towards the end of the album, but I don't really hear songs like Thou Shalt Not and Paralyzed get talked about a lot. True. And those are two really good Gene songs.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when it comes to Eric's, drumming. Some of those, drum beats he was playing was awesome. Very, very 90s. Very, again, hard rock. So I love that. Anyway, you were going to say?
I've always been a fan of Every Time I Look at You. I know a lot of people are not. A lot of people are not as into the slower ballads, but I think Paul just does an emotional power ballad so well, and I love it. Unironically, so good.
Yeah, I wonder if it was coming off the heels of Forever that he felt like he needed to or wanted to write another song kind of in that vein.
Yeah.
They had such a huge hit with Forever from Hot in the Shade that it kind of just made sense that Paul would try that again or, kind of continue on with that. So this may be hard to decide, but what's the better song? Forever? Take away the charts, take away, what's been played live the most. Just as a song, what's a better song? Forever or Every Time I Look at You?
That's hard.
That is hard.
It's hard, but it's also hard for me to not say Forever, just because, first of all, I love that song. It was our first dance at our wedding, so I'm biased.
That's true.
And Bruce's guitar, I'm sorry, it's so good.
Yeah.
That like acoustic guitar solo is unbeatable. It gives me chills. But Every Time I Look at You is so well written. That really is a hard choice. But I think by the tiniest margin, I might have to say Forever.
Yeah.
But again, that's a biased answer, so I don't know. Let us know what you think on that too.
That's actually a lot harder to answer than I thought because you're right. So I mean, obviously, Forever is immaculately written. Both Michael Bolton and Paul Stanley, two great songwriters. But I think Forever may be the better song, but for some reason I really do love Every Time I Look at You.
Too.
There's some really good like vocal harmonies where Paul is harmonizing with himself.
Yeah.
Or it's like layered vocals.
Yeah.
That just sounds beautiful. Of course, there's a little bit of orchestration in there. When they did it live, they had like a little orchestra with them and a little ensemble.
Yep.
So that's really cool. I think even in the music video, you can see some, the violins and some piano. So
a sucker for some extra.
What a great way to just bring up the atmosphere of that song.
And the bridge of this song, like when he goes up and it's like a key change or something.
To show you,
What you mean to me. It's so
that's
good.
A good one. I was
So
gonna say,
it's very hard to choose.
I was gonna say something else. What was it? Oh yeah. So one aspect that I like about Every Time I Look at You versus Forever is the production on Revenge. I think we can all agree was a lot better.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so I think that translates into the song as well.
Definitely.
It would be interesting to hear how Forever would have sounded with a bit cleaner production.
Yeah.
Because Hot in the Shade did have a kind of glorified demo sound to it.
Definitely.
So I don't... It's hard to say, how that would have sounded. But yeah, I don't know. Tough choice. So again, let us know what you guys think about what is better. Or maybe what's your favorite. It's hard to decide what's the best objectively versus what's your favorite subjectively. We'll let the Army decide.
Definitely.
But anyway, so moving on to what, Kiss Alive 3 now?
Yes.
Because that is my Kiss Spotlight. So I had listened to Kiss Alive 3 in my car all week long, but a very special version of Kiss Alive 3. Obviously, it's not this version. As you can see, this version is still sealed. This, as far as I can tell, this is a first pressing, not a pressing, but a first edition, first version of Kiss Alive 3 on CD. That is not the one I listened to. The one I listened to is off the Live box set that came out in 2006. This was one of the very first things that I purchased for myself as a Kiss fan, or as a Kiss collector. Not this specific version. I'm not sure where my version went, actually. I just bought this brand new one several years ago because the one I had was scratched, used, beat up. But anyway, so this is the preferred version of Kiss Alive 3 that I like to listen to. I'm going to make sure it looks nice and presentable here before I show it to y'all. Boom, there it is. I'm sure we've all seen it. But yeah, so this is the version that I love because, number one, it has a bonus track on it that did not get put on the original Kiss Alive 3.
I don't think I knew that. What is it?
Take It Off is
Really?
is included on
I did not
the
know
live
that.
box set
That's
version.
cool.
And I do believe it's also on a few European versions from the 90s as well. But no, it did not get put on the American version.
I wish it was on Spotify. I was checking, but it's not.
It's on Spotify for sure.
No, not
for
on
sure.
Live 3.
I wonder if, can you do me a favor real quick? So on Kiss's discography on Spotify, they should have this Alive box set on there.
Oh, so maybe if I go to that, let's try that. Oh, maybe it is
The
here.
box is on there, and they should have all the tracks on there. So like you have Kiss Alive twice, Kiss Alive 2 twice, Kiss Alive 3 twice.
Yep, Take It Off.
Take
You're
It
right.
Off, there it
You're
is.
Right. That's awesome.
So the bonus track is on Spotify.
Good to know. So that's where I need to go if I want to hear that.
Weird. I like how
Cool.
they put Kiss Alive on there twice. Or
Yeah.
Alive twice, Alive 2 twice,
That
Alive
is
3
funny.
twice. But as far as I know, the Millennium Concert's only on there once since it was only on this release. But anyway, so flashing back to when I first heard this, I bought this, I think I was in like 8th grade, something like that. I mean, it came out when I was in 6th grade, but I didn't get it until 7th or 8th grade. I had to save up to get it. And believe it or not, when I bought this, I was hearing Kiss Alive 2, and Kiss Alive 3 for the first time ever.
All together. Interesting.
We never had our own copies of those albums. So I had heard a couple tracks, Cold Gin, Strutter, Rock and Roll All Night from Kiss Alive 1. Pretty much heard nothing from Kiss Alive 2 except for Rocket Ride on side 4.
Okay.
And when it comes to Kiss Alive 3, I don't know if you know this, so I'll tell this story, but my friend Joe, my good buddy Joe, back when we first met, he had given me a Kiss Alive 3 CD that he had.
Oh.
He said, hey, I know you're a Kiss fan, why don't you take this? I don't have any case for it. It's really scratched. I don't even know if it plays, but I figured, hey, why don't you take it since you're a Kiss fan? I said, hey, great, thank you so much.
No complaints.
So I popped it into my CD player, which nobody even has little CD players anymore, little portable CD players.
Oh, I miss those that you put your headphones in.
Put the headphones over your ears.
Those
and
are the best.
Big old CD player. So I'm listening to my CD player, and I put in Kiss Alive 3, the CD, and it was so scratched that none of the songs played. Not even 1
Are you
second.
serious?
You put it in, and it would
Dang.
come up ERR for error,
Yep,
which
I
means can
remember
you play?
that.
So I tried,
Bummer.
okay, well, track 1 doesn't work. I'll try track 2, error. Track 3, error. Track 4, error. Track 5, error. Track 6 was the only one that played flawlessly all the way through, not one skip. Every other track you couldn't get 1 second out of.
And what's track 6?
Watching You.
Nice.
Which is one of the best
Yeah,
for me.
no, that's a great one.
One of my favorite tracks from the album.
Yeah.
So I thought it was so discouraging, like trying to listen
so sad.
to this new Kiss live album that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
And Only Watching You was the one. But of course, I was real excited when watching
I was
him
gonna
play.
say at least one worked.
So
I guess.
at least one worked. So for the longest time, I only ever heard Watching You from Kiss Alive 3. But this '06 box set really was my first, dive into the Kiss live discography. And Kiss Alive 3 quickly became my favorite because the songs are played so tight, because you have a lot of extra flavor coming from Eric Singer. Paul's vocals had reached a level that they just weren't on any of the previous live albums. You had a lot of newer material, 80s material, of course 70s material. It was at the time the most definitive collection of live Kiss, and so this was a real treat for me. It still is a treat to hear, and I just can't help but think that Eric Carr should have been on a live Kiss album. And I know it's a beaten horse. The horse has been beaten, but it's still true. Alive 3 should have been with Eric Carr, I think.
Yeah.
In the 80s at some point.
Yeah.
The opening track is Creatures of the Night. Like, that should have been an Eric Carr song.
Yeah.
I Still Love You, another Eric Carr song. Forever. I'm not sure when they would have recorded Kiss Alive 3 with Eric Carr. Maybe it would have been after Animalize or Hot in the Shade, but I don't know. I still feel like Eric Carr should have been the one to be on Kiss Alive 3.
I mean, you're right. There's such a huge gap in between 2 and 3.
Kiss Alive 4 should have been this.
Agreed. Yeah, because this still needs to exist. But
Alive
it should
5 should have been the Symphony.
Yeah.
That just, to me, I think would have been a really nice way to... But, again, hindsight's 2020.
Right.
And actually, there was a... Bruce did a video. Bruce and Andrew Schimbati together did like a commemorative video for Kiss Alive 3 that was uploaded to Bruce's channel. If you didn't watch it, check it out. It's about 10 minutes of some really awesome footage from the Kiss Alive 3 era Revenge tour. And so Bruce was talking about how Kiss Alive 3 came to be and how it was the perfect representation of Kiss at that time. And he himself said, I couldn't have imagined doing Alive 3 in the 80s. He himself said that. So I was kind of thinking, interesting.
Did he elaborate at all?
Well, he was just talking about how, with this album, you get a lot of the 70s, the 80s, you get a lot of current stuff, and how, the band did sound so well together.
Yeah.
And they brought Eddie Kramer back, who had produced Alive 1 and Alive 2. So it just made sense. Everything kind of just came together.
Yeah.
But, for whatever reason, he just said that he couldn't have imagined doing this album in the 80s, which for me kind of felt, oh, okay, well, hey, I mean, Bruce is the guy, and
right.
he's the guy on stage.
Know, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, if it felt right for him, it felt right for him. But I always kind of wondered maybe, if he would in the future elaborate on why he felt that was the right time and how maybe Kiss Alive 3 wouldn't have worked in the 80s. I'm not really sure, but that was something I thought I would mention. But yeah, so Kiss Alive 3 is my spotlight. Trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. Oh yeah, we were going to talk about. Well, actually, first let's talk about this. Let's go ahead and just get to this. Do you want to put this? I'll put this right here, and we'll just kind of continue stacking things up. So we wanted to bring out KISSology Volume 3 today.
Yes.
Because today we're filming on May 19th. It's the anniversary of Revenge, and May 18th was the anniversary of Kiss Alive 3, and that was last night. So to commemorate that, you and I watched the performance from the Palace of Auburn Hills, Detroit, Michigan, 92, from KISSology Volume 3, which I've seen that show a million times. It's one of my favorite shows to watch. But was this your first time watching this show? I think you've seen clips from it.
I've definitely seen clips from it, but I do think it was my first time watching the entirety
watching
of it.
all of it, for sure. So I kind of wanted to just talk about this a little bit and kind of, what your thoughts were since you got to see Revenge era Kiss in greater length. Mm-hmm. So, what were your thoughts?
Oh, I loved every second of it. It was so good.
I figured.
We already talked about how tight this lineup is musically. They were incredible. Bruce was just tearing it up. It was awesome. Eric Singer was on fire. The set is so cool. I have always been obsessed with the Statue of Liberty thing.
Statue of Liberty.
It's awesome. And we were talking about how I just want to know behind the scenes of logistically how that works and how that tears down and how they move that from city to city. And how they do the skull thing. It's crazy, but it looks so cool.
I wonder how much that statue weighed.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that looks like it would weigh a million pounds.
It's a lot lighter
but
than
it's
we
probably
think.
like
It's probably
styrofoam.
hollow. Yeah.
Or definitely hollow.
Yeah.
I even noticed that whenever you watched, you could see the individual pieces that would either, fall, or that it was kind of like just stack on top of one another.
Yeah.
That probably made it really easier to transport.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, KISS is known for their amazing stages. Like, it just come off of the Hot in the Shade tour, which of course had the Leon stage.
Yes,
the Sphinx,
also really cool.
Which was really cool. So now they're doing the Statue of Liberty, and of course they would go on to do the Spider. Now they have an elaborate stage with the pods and the screens.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this is just one of many awesome KISS stages. But yeah, I'm with you. I want to know the logistics behind it. And if anybody, has any insight to this stuff, you're welcome to please in the comments leave your thoughts and everything like that. I know some people who have had, like backstage access and get to see some stuff that normal fans don't get to see.
Yeah.
So let us know, what you guys know about some of the inner workings of KISS. But yeah, no, I agree. The set list is great. And then one of the things,
is fire.
just pointing out some of the things that we noticed during War Machine, Eric wore that little helmet.
Little helmet.
I forgot about that.
I don't know why it just makes me laugh.
I don't ever think about it until I watch it. But it's like he's wearing this War Machine helmet. It's got like reflective.
Yeah, and nobody else puts on any extra bit of costume for that song or for any other songs.
And that to me,
I love it.
That to me is 100% Eric Singer.
Yeah,
that is some Eric Singer stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like only he would do that. He's wearing those red, fiery, shorts, the really tight shorts. Total classic Revenge. Okay, so let's compare KISSology Volume 3 real quick or at least the show that we got from KISSology Volume 3 to Kiss Alive 3. Gosh, so many threes.
Yeah.
Because even this is an abridged set. So there were a few songs that were played at that show that were not played or not included on this disc. And I kind of want to quickly figure out what those were, because I know on YouTube, if you go on YouTube and look at the full show, they actually have a lot more songs than what are included on this disc. So I'm going to quickly pull up the set list from this show from Setlist FM. And I want to pull out the songs. So Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, I Want You, Forever, and Strutter.
Man.
And Shout It Out Loud were not included on this disc.
That's a bummer.
So basically a lot of classic songs.
Yeah, I don't know why they would not.
Kind of a bummer. I know you can go on YouTube and watch Hotter Than Hell and Firehouse, which are two amazing versions. I have not seen the version of I Want You from this.
I would have loved I Want You to have been included.
That would have been really good. They were doing so well with that song at this time, too, with not only with Eric Carr and Bruce, but with Eric Singer and Bruce. Even on the next tour, the Monsters of, or whatever that tour was, Kiss My Ass. I'm not sure what it was. But yeah, you're right. Why did they...
I wonder why they cut it down so much. I don't know if it was just the length, but...
Yeah,
I know it was all good.
Yeah, I guess it could be like disc space.
Maybe.
But even on disc 3 of KISSology Volume 3, the last Kiss show, the one that we love from East Rutherford, is even like abridged heavily. Weird. But anyway, so yeah, obviously lots of songs that were performed live didn't make it to the DVD, and then even then some didn't make it to this Kiss Alive 3 disc. So I kind of wanted to just take a look and say, what songs do you feel like from the tour should have been on the live album?
Parasite.
Okay. That's the ultimate one. That's the one I was going to say too, actually.
That's like the biggest one we talked about yesterday.
That's the one that I was going to say, because Parasite is on KISSology Volume 3.
And it was so good.
It's the best version of this song.
It was one of the biggest highlights of watching that for me. It was awesome. They brought like new life to that song. It's the heaviest I've ever heard that song. It's my favorite version I've ever heard of that song. And I don't understand why it's not on here.
I don't know why. I guess because maybe it would have played too closely to Kiss Alive. Both Watching You and Parasite were on Kiss Alive. So was Rock and Roll Night, and they didn't want to repeat songs. But if you're going for the best product, I mean, that song is ripping. Like, I don't care what era plays that song, whether it's the originals, whether it's the current, whether it's this lineup. That song, I mean, Ace wrote it's Ace's song.
Yeah.
Ace wrote the song. It's his riff. It's absolute perfection no matter who plays it.
Yeah.
So I think it should have made it to this. It's always a highlight for me listening to it on here. There was, on the last episode, I had Rob joining me, and we did an Eric Singer focused episode where we talked about his DVD All Access to Drumming, and there's actually a performance or a drum cam video of this exact same Parasite from this exact same show.
Cool.
Included on that disc.
Nice.
And so that to me is probably why I'm so like tied to this version of Parasite, because like every note that Eric plays, every fill I have memorized.
Yeah.
And so when I hear any other version of Parasite, I'm just like, nah. Every version is trying to be this version. So Parasite, we said Parasite's one that we wanted to be on Kiss Alive 3. Are there any other songs that you think deserved to be on Kiss Alive 3? I think Take It Off.
Oh, yeah.
Should have been. If it's a bonus song here, why not just put it on the regular album here?
Right, yeah.
It's also, it's great for Revenge. It supports Revenge.
Yeah.
That was the newest album. So I feel like if you wanted to add some more songs, I think Parasite and Take It Off are the way to go, because
Agreed.
you got like vintage Kiss and then current Kiss. And they both sound so great live.
I don't know if maybe they thought there was just too many Revenge songs on here, but I disagree.
yeah, and I noticed that I Still Love You was on the album, but that was not played at this show, for example, and it wasn't included, of course, on KISSology Volume 3. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was a soundcheck recording.
Oh, interesting.
That they recorded
that they put on the album?
Either from Detroit, from Cleveland, or from Indianapolis. They recorded I Still Love You from the soundcheck, and it made it onto the album.
Interesting. So, because I know it wasn't played at this show, but it wasn't played at any of those other ones either. Did you look?
At any of the other shows on the Revenge tour? I'm sure it might have been. I can't look up every single show right
you're
now.
fine. I just didn't know why you thought it was from a soundcheck.
But, I've read that, and I've heard that.
Gotcha.
But I don't know if it was played on any other songs or any other shows. But I know that it's kind of rubbed folks the wrong way, where it's like you included a song from a soundcheck that wasn't actually played, but that was on Kiss Alive 2 as well. I Want You was from soundcheck.
Yeah.
But again, it's just one of the things that kind of bothers fans. So how would you feel personally? Because I know you love both of these songs. So how would you feel if I Still Love You had been taken out and Every Time I Look at You was put in place? What would you think? Would that make the album better, worse, the same?
About the same.
About the same.
I love those songs pretty much equally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be upset about it either way, but I Still Love You is so good, and I don't personally really care if it's from a soundcheck. If it sounds good, it sounds good, and it's not like the whole album's like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe I would lean towards keeping I Still Love You, just because we do have a lot of Revenge songs on here already.
Fair enough.
So just for diversity's sake, I'm fine with I Still Love You.
Fair enough. And Creatures of the Night did not, since there was no live album in the 80s, that album, Creatures of the Night, did not get any sort of live representation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And from this album alone, you have Creatures, I Still Love You, I Love It Loud. War Machine did not make it to this album.
What?
Now that I think about it, that's the other one that should have been on the album.
Yeah,
War Machine
that doesn't make sense to me.
should have been on Kiss Alive 3. That was definitely on the tour.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, even though I just heard the album the other day, I was almost thinking it was on the album, but that's just because we heard watched the DVD. But wow, so yeah, I think that could be another addition too. I know that on Hot in the Shade, they were really intent on filling the album, the CD, as much as possible. 15, 20 tracks on an album. And so, assuming that there was some space left on this, if they wanted to fill this album, they could have easily added in songs like War Machine, Parasite, and just a couple other ones. But anyway, yeah, we can sit here and complain and
it's still a great
pick
track
apart.
list. It really is.
It is still an amazing set list,
Yeah.
and it's still my favorite Kiss live album.
Yeah.
But there's even another Kiss live album that we decided to not listen to, but watch. Do you have something else you wanted to talk about first? Go ahead.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
Let me see. The version of Unholy that we watched on this was really cool because something that we noticed during that concert was that one of the mics on the stage, the one that Gene was at a little bit more, was a little bit quieter for some reason than the rest of them. So there were times where you couldn't hear him quite as well, so Paul would either jump in or you could just hear his backing vocals more than normal. So I really loved this version of Unholy because you can hear Paul and Eric's backing vocals a lot stronger than normal. And that was really cool to hear. Eric has a great voice, and obviously so does Paul in this era especially. So that was really cool to hear Paul singing Unholy. I liked that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because one other song that kind of felt the same way about is Watching You.
Yeah.
Where, usually on a live 3, it's just Gene. It's Gene's vocal only. Usually when that song is sung, it's usually just Gene, but on this version, it was Gene and Paul singing dual lead vocals.
Yeah.
And I think there's maybe a couple times where they've done that too, where Gene and Paul will sing lead vocals on Watching You. But yeah, I wonder if because Gene's mic was a little low and a little quiet, if Paul, jumping in wasn't trying to balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, I think maybe.
Either way, though, when you hear Gene and Paul singing together, it's amazing.
Yeah, that was great.
They have two unlikely voices that you would think that would go well together. You know what I mean? Like, you think that, Gene on his own is a good singer, Paul's an amazing singer, but together, for some reason, it's just the whole world singing.
Yeah, they complement so well. Those are some of my favorite moments of this era because they all have really good voices. I mean, Bruce is a little quieter, but he also has good voice.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime we're getting multi-part harmonies from this era of the band, I love.
Yeah, and they were lucky having Eric Singer in the band, even though he was brand new. I mean, he had no problem jumping in, singing backup vocals.
He's got a strong voice.
And very strong voice, even today.
Yeah.
So definitely a big player in KISS from the get-go.
Definitely.
Before we move on, I want to ask you to quickly, could you grab that magazine, not the rack, obviously, but on the shelf next to the Hottest Show on Earth binder, there is a black to the right, there's a, yes, right there, the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing.
The whole thing. I like to do some show and tell sometimes, and the one cool thing about this show is that, you get to pull stuff off the shelf and kind of show it. Otherwise, it would just stay on the shelf and collect dust. But I wanted to show this because I'm not even sure if you knew this, but this is a consent notice.
Oh, yes! I forgot you had this.
From this show.
Yeah.
That says this concert will be filmed as, video released by KISS. And so by entering these premises, you are consenting to have your likeness used in the video.
Mm-hmm.
You hold the KISS company and, no liability. All the footage belongs
is allowed
to
to
KISS.
be used, yeah.
So they're just saying, hey, you're going to be filmed.
That is really cool. Is that a
here's
ticket
what it
as
looked
well?
like. Yeah, and somebody's ticket stub, too.
That's awesome.
From that show. Friday, the 27th of November, 92, 8 p.m.
Old Ticketmaster logo.
Old Ticketmaster logo. Old Ticketmaster size, the ticket
neat.
size. I'm looking for the actual... I'm trying to look for the... Oh, floor. Section D, row 10. So if you were on the floor in Section D, row 10, I have your ticket now. Thank you for selling it. But anyway, so yeah, this is something that you would either see posted on the walls or maybe you were handed one. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But obviously they have to let folks know this is being recorded for a future video release. Don't say something or do something or act in a way that you wouldn't want to be, seen on camera. You know what? It makes me think of, there was this, on the Symphony show, when they did the pay-per-view for that in 2003, 20 years ago, Paul was saying at one point, he said, this is being filmed and recorded, for a video release, so if you're here with somebody you shouldn't be here with, you don't want somebody to go, hey, who's that with you at the KISS concert? You said you were going to your mother's house.
Oh,
and so
that's funny.
That was a funny little bit that I kind of remember. But anyway, so yeah, I thought I'd show something off, just something cool here.
That's cool, and that reminds me, that was another fun little thing that I enjoyed about watching this concert was the crowd shots. I honestly wish they would have done more crowd shots because I just love seeing the audience hyped. I love seeing that era of KISS fans in the 90s.
Yeah, one thing that I love watching KISS concerts is that they do a lot of crowd shots.
Yeah.
The East Rutherford show in 2000, they do a lot of crowd shots. Rock the Nation, some good crowd shots. I love looking at the crowd shots at KISS concerts because now, I wonder, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of crowd shots at most pro shot concerts.
Yeah.
Most pro shot concerts I watch, it's just the band edited. You may get a pan shot where it's the whole crowd.
Where you can see the whole,
But I noticed that with KISS concerts, cameras will get up on people.
Oh, yeah.
And people show their tattoos.
Yeah.
And they show their shirts or, they show their kid, whatever it is. It's KISS fans are always, there was that one guy on this one who was doing this.
Yes.
Whatever he was doing. I don't know what he was doing. And there was that one guy that was just.
Yeah, they were on one. It was great.
I love looking at people who are on camera because when people are on camera, they'll do some crazy stuff.
Especially when they know it's being filmed for something big like this.
Yes.
They just go nuts.
They
just want to be
absolutely nuts.
famous.
But yeah, no, Detroit, they're going to represent. Because this tour actually had some low moments as far as attendance goes.
Really?
There were a lot of shows that, they would be playing these, big stadiums and you would only have maybe half full. And I've heard, stories and tellings of the band performing these shows, and they walk Paul, for instance, walks over to the stage and this looks and sees an entire empty section
Ugh,
of no
that
seats.
hurts.
And you have to like have the spotlights not shine lights on that.
Yeah.
Just to kind of
just not bring attention to it.
Yeah, focus only on who's here and what's on stage. But you can imagine
that's not right, man.
You can imagine being Paul Stanley and having like the best version of your band, and you're looking out in the crowd and it's like nobody's showing up. I mean, the 90s were really weird for a lot of bands. The fact that Kiss even got through it is pretty remarkable. Of course, if it wasn't for the reunion era, it may have, not have continued on as much, or as successfully. But weird to think about. I can't imagine, just being in Kiss, being Eric Singer, the new guy, bringing this heat to the band, and you have a really awesome album out under your belt, and then all of a sudden, the shows are just dwindling.
That's crazy to me. Man, if we had been alive.
And fast forward a couple years, and they're playing convention shows for a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's kind of weird to think about. But anyway, so yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I want to move on now to talking about the bonus, because so I was able to, once we started watching this concert, I was like, hey, do you want to kind of just keep watching disc 1 here, because I think you're going to like what happens next. And of course, everybody knows on disc 1, part 2 of disc 1 is the MTV Unplugged show, which we also went ahead and said, hey, you might as well go ahead and watch it. Yeah. It's the Revenge lineup. So we got to watch the full performance, the video performance, even this is abridged too, right. I think. But compared to the album version, the album has a lot less material on
and
the
cuts
video.
Out some of the talking and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah. So thoughts on MTV Unplugged? This was your first time watching this full show, right? No,
we've watched it before.
Okay, full, for sure.
Yeah, we've watched Unplugged before. I adore Unplugged. What was also cool is, even though I had seen Unplugged, I don't think I had seen that clip that you played before.
Bingo.
So that was really cool.
Yes,
to
the
see.
Behind the scenes, where Alex Coletti does a narration of the sort of the coming together of the...
and like his thought process behind why he thought that this would work so well, and like the execution of it.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool to see too. And that they even showed some clips of them playing at the conventions and stuff. Which was neat. I had never seen any of that either.
Yeah.
And like you actually talked about with Rob recently, your parents were at one of those conventions, so that was kind of cool to see some of that footage, and Alex's perspective of that. And he even got to, on the day of, he even got to sound check with them because there was some, I don't know the reasons, but there were some issues.
Some legal issues with Ace and Peter.
Ace and Peter.
They weren't sure if they were going to make
almost didn't come, but they obviously did. So he got to sound check with them, even though he was anxious the whole time. But so that was still really cool. Could you imagine?
That's
he even said incredible. Like this should have been like a highlight of my life, but I was just kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But I love Unplugged. It's musically, it's some of the best in.
It proves that Kiss musically has talent, and they actually have songs that are well thought out, well written, well constructed, well structured.
Yeah.
Again, most people just think that Kiss they wear makeup and they blow stuff up, and then everything else is kind of secondary. This proves that the music has always been at the forefront.
Yeah, and that the songwriting is
Kiss.
Good. Yeah.
You cannot have Kiss without the music. You can't have a show. You can't have makeup. You can't have pyro. You can't have a concert without the songs, without the music. And so, this proves that at the very foundation of Kiss is music, and it's good music.
Yeah.
And the selection they chose, I thought,
it's immaculate.
Was perfect. I mean, they did a lot of Revenge on here too as well. You have Domino, and Every Time I Look at You, and Spit were from Revenge. And I was pretty surprised because they let the crowd sing Spit. And the crowd was doing pretty well at memorizing the lyrics.
Yeah.
We were kind of surprised.
Like, that was newer stuff at the time.
Heaven's on Fire was the one before that the crowd sang. And they, of course, did a good job. But that's a pretty well-known song.
Right.
I mean, it's MTV Unplugged. That was an MTV staple for years,
right.
So to have a song like Spit, which was at the time very new, still being sung by the whole crowd was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess this is back in an era when people, still loved new material.
Yeah.
Although, when I say that, when Paul said this is something newer, there was no response at all. It was dead silent.
Yeah.
Which was kind of odd. But I guess they were
But
kind
then
of
there
there
were
to
still
hear the
people
70s
singing,
stuff.
so...
Yeah, I mean, it worked out. It was a trade-off.
But they also, another revenge one they did was Every Time I Look at You. In fact, one of the things I pointed out was couldn't believe that they did I Still Love You and Every Time I Look at You back to back. And they were
you're
both
right.
so good.
You're right.
Paul's voice, I know that's all I ever say is Paul's voice, but
well,
on Unplugged, it's so good.
It really is. I mean, everything on Unplugged was good.
Yeah.
The drums were tuned perfectly. It was like the perfectly tuned drum set.
My favorite will always just be Bruce's acoustic guitar work. It's
Some
incredible.
Of the best acoustic
I don't know
guitar.
how, I mean... Those solos are hard enough as it is, but I don't know how you do some of those solos on an acoustic guitar. It's got to be so much harder.
The strings are thicker, are they not, on an acoustic guitar?
Yes. Yeah. And it just requires a lot more precision than an electric guitar, and it's so impressive. It's so
and you can't hide behind any of your mistakes, too.
No.
There's no amplifier, there's no effects to kind of cover it up. It's all just laid out there.
And Gene's, acoustic bass thing was really cool, too.
Fat.
It sounded awesome.
Fat-sounding bass, yeah.
Paul's guitar, too. What was the one that he did a solo on that was really, really good?
World Without Heroes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Was his solo. And,
that was really cool.
We kind of forget that he has a couple of solos in history, and that was one of them. And so, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, another thing we talked about is how, Unplugged, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, took songs that weren't necessarily my favorites or ones that I ever gravitated towards, a lot of them from the 70s, that it took those songs and just gave them a whole new life and made them really, really good. I mean, starting off really strong with Coming Home. It's such a good opener and it's such a good song, and I never really thought about that song much.
It does not shine on Harder Than Hell.
It does not.
But
it shines on Unplugged. I mean, just those first three, honestly, Coming Home, Plastercaster, and Going Blind, these are the superior versions, in my opinion, the ones that are on Unplugged, at least my favorite. Yeah. Let's see. Rock Bottom is another really, really good one. See You Tonight. Mm-hmm. And then the two, in my opinion, the two absolute best on this one are, we already talked about I Still Love You. Yep. But for me... It's Sure Know Something.
Yeah.
This, Unplugged is what made me fall in love with that song. And I do love the original one now, too, but I'm gonna listen to this one 9 times out of 10. Yeah. And Unplugged is what made me fall in love with that song. It's one of my favorite Kiss songs, probably top 5, if not 10. But it's just my favorite on this one, for sure.
I think if I had to be honest, my two favorite are the last two. Nothing to Lose and Rock and Roll All Night. First of all, I could not imagine being there in that room, in that small, that intimate kind of environment, and have Peter and Ace come out and have the original 4 back together on stage for the first time in probably at least 13, 15 years.
And having fun.
And having fun.
That's the best part, is that
Peter
they all were having a blast.
So happy.
They sounded so good.
You had two, this was one fun thing too. We found out behind the scenes where Tommy Thayer was working with the band. And so you had Gene, Paul, Peter, Ace, Eric Singer, Bruce Kulick, and Tommy Thayer all working together in the same room together.
I was shook. That was crazy. When they showed Tommy, I had never even seen, I don't think, pictures of Tommy at that time. Yeah. And obviously he looks different. He had
short hair.
He was skinny, he had really short hair. I've never seen him with short hair before. And I was like, that's Tommy Thayer. And I was like, we have 3 lead guitar players from Kiss, even though one hasn't happened yet, but 3 lead guitarists in the same room right now, and that's wild.
It was crazy.
And everybody's getting along. It's so good.
It was great. And then you could tell in that little behind the scenes package, everybody was having a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
And Peter.
They kind of kept it lighthearted, but
yeah, Peter and Eric were vibing really well. I loved that. That was my favorite because I'm the drummer.
Yeah.
And, so.
And there was even a moment on during the show where there was somebody in the background that was booing, I think. That was booing maybe Eric and Bruce.
Eric and Bruce come back out.
Yes, and Ace actually got on the mic and said, hey, they're members of the family too. And I was like, wow. Yep. So that was cool.
Yeah.
It was a very harmonious
You could feel the love. And those last 2 songs, Nothing to Lose and Rock and Roll All Night, are just the 2 best versions of those songs. I mean, you can tell that, they're having fun and they're sounding great, but just the energy that's brought through. You got 2 drummers. You have both Ace and Bruce playing solos on Rock and Roll Night, which was awesome.
That was really cool to have them go back and forth like
Eric
that.
Singer took lead vocals on Nothing to Lose, which was kind of odd.
Yeah.
Or kind of special.
No, you're right. That did surprise me a little bit. That was cool.
Yeah. It was Eric on lead vocals and then Peter Criss on backup vocals on the chorus, which I thought was awesome. Eric Singer did an amazing job at that, and then I'm pretty sure he's even sang it live a couple more times after that, just because, I'm not sure what or how that came about. Yeah, why did Eric sing that song? Because it was Gene that wrote it, and it was Gene that sang it on the first album. And I wonder if Eric maybe thought, hey, can I do it? Or, I wonder how that came to be that Eric sang the song.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. It
was a really good version. And there's a moment in Nothing to Lose where Peter and Eric have like a drum battle almost. There's a couple of sections where there's fills, and it's first it's, I think, Eric Singer, and then Peter Criss, and then Eric Singer again before the big breakdown. You got nothing to lose, I say. But just another observation there, just the drummers, Eric Singer and Peter Criss going back and forth.
So good.
It's a great performance. And I thought it'd be cool to talk about that since we're talking about the Revenge lineup and the Alive 3 era. Might as well talk about Unplugged. So is there anything else you wanted to mention about Unplugged? I think Come On and Love Me should have been on the album. So they played Come On and Love Me at the show.
There's another one.
And it did not make it to the album. I thought, that is just ridiculous.
There's another one from the show. Can I see that real quick?
Yeah,
There's another one from the show that's not on the album that I wanted to talk about.
God of Thunder. The redneck version.
Yes. Oh, that was hilarious.
That was hilarious. I was wondering if you'd seen it before or not. And so
I'm not sure if I had seen that or not, but that was really funny. And then they did, they ended up doing... Oh, what's it called? Oh, Susanna. When they were having that little redneck moment. Do you remember that?
Oh, that was
I'm sorry.
That was live during the concert. But no,
you're right. That was not Unplugged.
Well, good observation, because we talked about Oh Susanna on Poughkeepsie.
Yes.
And they played Oh Susanna.
Right. That's just a recurring thing
10 years later.
Reason.
And I'm like...
Because Paul, going back to...
The hee-haw music.
To that, he said nobody wants to hear that hee-haw music. And
so weird. I wonder why they played... They must really love Oh Susanna.
But no, the other one that I was going to mention was Hard Luck Woman, is not on the album.
Really?
Which is interesting. And I had forgotten, because I had only seen Unplugged, the video version, maybe one other time.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that was on there and that Paul sings it. So that was really cool to see, and I think it's interesting that they didn't choose to include it. I don't know if it's just because, Paul was singing it, but... I really liked that. That was cool to see.
I did too. And there was something else too. Oh, well, obviously, even this video is abridged too, because there is a longer form video that has even more stuff, I'm pretty sure. I know that Gene messes up Domino a couple times, and maybe even See You Tonight. But on this version, it's just the one and done.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure I've seen footage and seen other videos, other versions, longer versions where they try and start Domino and then Gene messes up. So they start and they stop again.
Interesting.
Or stop and start again.
I don't know. I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, but Got to Choose also was played, but it's not on here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
I wonder why they did not choose to put some of these songs on there.
Yeah.
It must have just been...
I mean, it's a pretty long set list, so I guess I understand.
It's got 15 songs on it, yeah. But, again, just a nice even 20.
And it was fun, the kind of in the middle when they were transitioning from just the 4 current members at the time to bringing out Peter and Ace.
Yeah.
Obviously, some crew members had to come out for 5 or 6 minutes to set up everything. It took a while to set up, the other drum set and the other spot. And I'm sure once they saw another drum set being set up, I'm sure everybody knew what was happening. But Paul's kind of trying to keep the audience distracted. So they're just playing little bits of random songs, having the audience participate.
Yeah, why don't you guys sing a song for once?
Yeah, like Heaven's on Fire. They just had the audience sing the beginning of Heaven's on Fire a few times. And that was a fun few minutes of them just kind of messing around. I liked that.
Yeah, anybody listening and watching... I want to know if you were there, or if you know anybody who was there.
I can't imagine having
I have heard very few testimonies from folks who were actually there. I mean, it was a very intimate setting. There were only a handful of people. I'm not even sure how many people were there.
It was not many, though.
Maybe a few hundred, it looked like.
Yeah.
But, so I'm wondering if any... And it's one of those things, the folks that were there, were they actual Kiss fans? I mean, there were the guys dressed up, so
Yeah,
they were
there
huge
were
Kiss
some,
fans.
definitely.
There were folks who were actually
Well,
singing.
there were people that knew the song, so they had to be.
Yeah, but it just kind of makes you wonder, like, you know, 'cause some folks who buy tickets to those events are just rich people who just, you know,
Right.
buy a front row ticket just because. But, you know, I would like to know from somebody who was actually there, you know, some kind of, like, behind the scenes knowledge.
Yeah.
If you haven't, you know, did you know Peter and Ace were coming? Was it pretty much
Right.
guaranteed? Was that like a rumor?
Was that advertised at all, or was that
I think
a
it
shock?
was. I think it was. I don't know. With
hinted at?
with Peter Criss making an appearances on the Unplugged circuit or the convention circuit.
Yeah.
I think it kind of put the rumor out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ace had joined them on any of the convention stuff. It's only Peter's the only one that's talked about, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was definitely in the rumor mill.
Yeah.
But when they came out, those four, I mean, folks were like, reunion tour!
Yeah.
Reunion tour! And of course, it had happened. But yeah, no, they were definitely hyped up. So anybody who was there or knows anyone who was there, let us know. Any info that you might have on that. That's super awesome. And I think that's really it. All I had for Kiss Alive 3 Revenge and all that. You want to put that
Absolutely.
on our fourth peg there? And then we'll just have the whole front
What a
complete.
good lineup there.
The front complete. Yeah, so I mean, we're kind of winding down now at the end. I usually open some stuff if I've received anything, which this week I have not.
What?
But I can show some stuff.
Okay,
I
I was
can still
like,
show some stuff.
You haven't gotten anything since last
Yeah,
time?
well, I haven't like received any packages, rather.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure I have no packages waiting. Wow. You know, it's funny. I didn't even mention about Kiss Alive 3 that they did a whole merch line.
Yes, that's true.
On
That just
KOL, which thank goodness they did it because I was hoping they would. I could not get anything. I had to pass, unfortunately. But it was cool to see some merch. They had 2 awesome vinyl releases.
Mm-hmm.
One was a picture disc that had images of the Revenge lineup on the disc.
it's really cool, but
which-
it's really expensive.
Which is what I want, but at the same price as a box set. I just
I don't know about that.
couldn't do it. They were sold out in a half hour anyway.
Right.
Um,
But let us know if you're getting one, because they were really cool, those picture discs especially.
They were awesome. They were awesome. They were just a little too much, and of course, you know, folks bought them up, and they're already putting them on eBay for
like $500.
gosh, ridiculous.
Come on.
Like at a certain point, like I'm not even gonna get into that, but anyway. So there was 2 awesome picture discs. They had some really cool shirts. This actually was one of them.
Oh yeah?
Where you had this design on the front. It was like $30, but again, I thought, well, I have the original one, so I don't really need that one. But yeah, if you did get anything from the Kiss Alive 3 merch line, let us know. There was some pretty cool stuff. They had a little pin. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that they had, but I can't really think of it. But anyway, as far as merch that we have here today, one item that I'll show is the new magazine that just came out. I did a fun little vlog style video this past week where I went out and tried to find this. It took forever. I stopped at I don't know how many places looking for this magazine. Finally found it, and so I can't wait to read it and get into it. It's awesome. It has some really cool layouts and some cool photos. I heard somebody say that there's even a section where it talks about the members or the bands that Kiss brought out on tour with them.
Oh, okay.
And had open for them.
Yeah, that's neat.
So I can't wait to hear about some of that stuff. So yeah, another cool, fantastic Kiss magazine there. And then another magazine that I got recently is this right here.
Yes,
which
this one
you're
I
probably
love.
thinking, now why is there a Nickelodeon magazine with Kiss in it? Well, in May of 2009, Kiss, Gene and Paul lent their voices to the show Fairly Odd Parents. They made a cameo in the show Fairly Odd Parents, which was a show that was very popular when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I was in like middle school when this came out and I wasn't watching the show as much, when I heard that Kiss was going to be on, I was like, oh, I'm definitely watching that. So they actually kind of interwove Kiss into the story.
Yeah.
They wove Kiss into the story, and Gene and Paul do their own voices. They even actually had the official version of Rock and Roll All Night used in the show twice.
That's great.
So Butch Hartman, the show's creator, evidently was a huge Kiss fan.
Yeah.
And jumped through all the hoops to get Gene and Paul to come in and do their voices, and even had maybe the network, I'm not sure, Nickelodeon jumped through the hoops to get the actual rights to the song to actually use the song. But either way, I was in 8th grade freaking out when I saw Kiss on TV. Kiss as a part of one of my favorite TV shows. Think of Kiss and I don't know, Charlie Brown or something like that. I don't know what shows people watched back in the day, but
Charlie Brown.
I guess you would actually see Kiss because they're adults, so you would see their boots.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And want. And Charlie Brown.
That's hilarious. No, this was really cool because, I mean, like you said, this is like from our childhood. And even just looking through this magazine from, did you say 2009?
Yeah.
This magazine, Nickelodeon magazine from 2009 was just a fun little throwback because there's all kinds of stuff from our childhood and our era
and you can see Gene and the Catman in the background there. And there even is a small blurb here that says sealed with the kiss. I don't know if you can see it, but they actually used a picture of Kiss with Eric Carr. If you can see there's a picture of Kiss from around Creatures of the Night tour. And it actually does talk about how Butch wrote them into the story. It says, we wrote Kiss into the story, but didn't think that we had an actual chance of getting them. Then they said yes. It was very, very exciting. They were super nice. Very cool to work with. They're snazzy dressers. They dress like rock stars, and I was very jealous of their clothes.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was super awesome. But yeah, that's why a Nickelodeon magazine made it. And this is actually super rare. Like, usually with most Kiss items, you just go online, you search it. As long as you have the money, you just add it to your cart, right? Yeah. It's pretty simple nowadays. But this was hard to find.
Really?
I actually did not even know this existed until I saw a picture of just the cover online. And I thought, wait a minute. There was a Nick magazine with Kiss on the cover. I have to find that.
Yeah.
And tracking it down was very difficult because this was the only one I could find.
And didn't the seller say that it was in like really bad shape? But
yes.
It's really not at all. I was like looking for what they were talking about. But
seller said it's
pretty
in
decent shape.
Poor condition. And it said, like, completed activities. I mean, there are some activity pages.
Yeah, but who cares? It's not Kiss-related pages.
Obviously, if you're a kid, if you're a kid in 08, 09, you're going to definitely use it.
But it's intact. Like, the whole magazine's there. It's not ripped or wrinkled or creased or anything.
Binding is perfect. Yeah. So, what a nice Nickelodeon magazine. As a matter of fact, I did actually we need to watch it, the DVD.
Oh, did you?
Years ago, I tracked down the DVD.
Okay, we should watch that.
Wishology is what it was called.
Okay.
Part 1 with Kiss as the Magical Order of Rockin' Fairies is what it was.
That's great.
But yeah, so... and again, we're just kind of having some fun here at the end. I wanted to mention one more thing because the other day I was talking to you about this, and I thought we would finish the conversation on the podcast. Okay. So Ultimate Classic Rock did a list... She already knows.
We started to have this conversation. Yes. He's like, we gotta finish.
I was like,
this
wait. We'll finish it on the pod. So, Ultimate Classic Rock, which is one of the many, tabloid rock websites out there that just posts a bunch of clickbait and tries to get people all riled up. Mm-hmm. But and hey, it worked because here we are. So, Ultimate Classic Rock released a list of what they considered the 10 worst Kiss songs ever.
First of all, why? Why do we even have to do that? I don't understand. Like,
what's the point?
What is the point of creating lists of the worst anything? Like, why do we have to focus on the negative? Anyways, continue.
But here is what and they're skipping tracks from solo albums. So, no solo albums, just Kiss albums only. Number 10 is Kiss in Time, which they said this wasn't Kiss's fault. This was from Neil Bogart.
Yeah, this is whatever.
That makes sense.
I understand that.
So, Kiss in Time is number 10. Number 9, Nothing Can Keep Me From You, from the Rock City soundtrack, which I know you like that song.
Disagree.
And I know a lot of fans hate that song, but I thought it was kind of funny that song made it, and that song maybe one of your top.
I love that song. It's not in my top, but I love that song.
Yeah, it's not anything new, but
But it also doesn't surprise me that it's on the list, so whatever.
Number 8, Make Me Rock Hard, from Smash, Matches, and Hits.
Okay.
They didn't put Let's Put the X in Sex. They put this one on there, which I thought was kind of interesting. I love that song. I don't care who knows. I love that song. Number 7, The Street Giveth and the Street Taketh Away. I can see that one.
Okay.
It's kind of a, throwaway from Hot in the Shade, a Gene song. It says that apparently Gene rips the verse opening Hey Man from David Bowie's Suffragette City. Yeah.
No, I can definitely see that. I think I've always kind of thought that when I hear that song.
I never put it together.
Because I knew the David Bowie one first.
Number 6, are you ready?
No, go ahead.
My Way.
This is the one that you said that I was like, what? Have they listened to that song? Have they listened to Crazy Nights?
What's their reasoning for it? What's their reason? It says, it's not fair that Paul has more songs on this list than Gene. It was Stanley who blah, 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 blah. What is their reasoning for this? His attempts to replicate Bon Jovi-style keyboard pop rock was a bit spotty. The title track was a big hit. The infectious Turn of the Night deserved to be one, but the overwhelming keyboards and piercingly high vocals of the self-help anthem My Way were a bridge too far.
Wow. Hard disagree.
That's could not be further from the truth.
That's one of the best songs on that album, and one of my favorite Paul songs, period. That's crazy.
Number, 5 on the list, you have It Never Goes Away from Carnival of Souls, which I loved his vocals on that song. Yeah, I love that song. But
the further up we get, the more offensive this is getting to me.
Paul sounds miserable and lost on the turgid 6-minute-long dirge It Never Goes Away.
They don't understand the song. They don't understand the album. I don't think anyone understands that album.
Apparently, a Kiss song is only a Kiss song if it talks about sex or partying.
Yeah.
So, number 4 is Good Girl Gone Bad.
What?
Oh my gosh, one of the best Gene songs.
Did they make this list specifically
just
to piss me off?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
That's not right. That's a great Gene song.
We have
Everyone
Just a Boy, number 3. I can see where
whatever.
that would make it. Number 2, you have Odyssey, also from The Elder. I can see that. Paul says, me singing it was just tragic. Number 1, I Finally Found My Way from Psycho Circus, which is kind of a lesser known song from Psycho Circus.
Yeah, but not a bad song.
The worst Kiss song in the world. That right there is the worst Kiss song.
Wait, were these supposed to be in order? Like, that's the worst?
Yes. Number 1 is I Finally Found My Way.
It's funny because I feel like this list is... I mean, first of all, this list is wrong, but I feel like it's backwards. Like, I feel like Kiss in Time being number 1 would make more sense to me.
Really?
Then, I mean, not that I have... I don't have a problem with any of these songs, but I don't...
Yeah.
I don't even know the words.
Funny. I thought it was pretty funny because, of course, Ultimate Classic Rock and then some of the, casual service-level Kiss fans only listen to probably like a handful of the 70s albums, and that's really it. Yeah. But Kiss fans listen to all albums. That list is appalling.
Yeah, well, and that list just proves that, like, they just don't... I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Well, a Kiss song is only a Kiss song if it fits in between. If it fits in with this narrow.
They have a very narrow idea of what a Kiss song is allowed to be.
You know what? I failed to mention the reason why they put this list together was it said Kiss. The top 10 worst Kiss songs are songs where Kiss tries to sound like somebody else, and I'm like, what? I don't know. Thought it was interesting, but we will try and leave now on a positive note because we are so glad that everybody is joining us for another hour-long episode of Kiss Army Things, talking about our favorite band, our favorite music, our favorite songs.
This is random, but I just noticed that my money bag bottle cap does not have a little message on the inside today.
What? See, mine says cha-ching. I got lucky.
There's always a little saying on the inside about money, and I got nothing today.
Huh.
I don't know what that means, but anyways.
I don't know. I got cha-ching, so I guess I'm going to get rich at some point. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us on episode 52 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. We're so glad that you're wanting to join us and talking all things Kiss. Leave us your comments on what you think about Kiss Alive 3 and Revenge. Are they your favorites? Are they your least favorite? Are they overrated? I know fans have difference of opinions, so we want to hear yours. And then, did you get to see Kiss on the Revenge Tour Alive 3? And did you see any convention shows? Just 90s era, like early 90s Kiss is what we're celebrating today. So if you want to talk all about that, we would love to hear your thoughts on that. And then, of course, we're on Facebook and Instagram where you can follow us and then subscribe to YouTube because we're bringing more episodes every week pretty much. It used to be every 2 weeks, but now we're almost doing every week. Most often.
Or at least doing something.
Don't hold us to that. Yeah. But more often than not, we're bringing episodes every week.
Also, I wanted to say, it's a couple days late, but I think it's the first podcast we've done since then. Happy 2 years of the Kiss Army Things podcast as well.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, this is our second anniversary. Actually, it was a little while ago, but we're just now getting to it. So thank you, everybody, for 2 years. supporting us and joining us, and we love hearing you guys. I love reading comments and replying to stories and you guys' memories and things like that. So that's what I get from this podcast is, camaraderie with the KISS Army.
Yeah, we've created a little community here.
Yeah,
I love it.
We get to talk about, KISS's albums and their music and their legacy, their history. We get to pull merchandise off the shelves and just, immerse ourselves in all things KISS. That's what we're doing, just immersing ourselves in all things KISS and having fun while doing it. So with that said, we will see you in episode 53 of the KISS Army Things podcast. Until then, my name is Xander.
My name is Daphne.
Thank you and have a great day.